Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Good morning, ladies and
Morning.
gentlemen.
I'm delighted to be in your midst. I'm anyhow online and looking forward to all your brilliant ideas and food for thought for me.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Cruz, for joining us this morning. As you can see, we have a number of participants with us this morning to discuss some of the ideas on the ID challenge that we held as Alliance of Liberals and Democrats for Europe Party in the last couple of weeks on our special Facebook page. And the big question was on youth entrepreneurship. How can the European Union help? And basically, the idea was to get young people involved in coming up with concrete ideas on how we can tackle, let's say, the big crisis of youth entrepreneurship, and specifically how we can promote, as European liberals come up with concrete proposals, how we can promote youth entrepreneurship. And therefore, Mrs. Cruz, we are very privileged to have you here this morning. You are the European Commission Vice President and also European Commissioner for the EU's digital agenda. And so we are very fond of you to have us with us here this morning. And I would like to, in a few seconds, give Adam the floor to present the participants in the Idea Challenge who came up with the most interesting ideas and who were most successful in engaging other people in developing these ideas. But why do we do this Idea Challenge? It's part of our youth unemployment campaign that the ALDE party held together with our youth organization LIMEC. As all of you know, youth unemployment is a big problem currently in the European Union, averaging about 23% in most of the member states, but in some it's even much higher, even above 50%. So we must do something about it, and in the opinion of European liberals, we should put more emphasis on promoting youth and empowering them to pursue an entrepreneurship campaign. Now I would like to give the floor to Erdem, whose company, We Decide, managed the Idea Challenge for us, for the ALDE party. And he'll briefly explain about the challenge as such and present today's participants. Erdem, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Daniel. Ms. Cruz, it's a pleasure to have you and participants as well. We Decide is launching online challenges for municipalities and political parties, and we've been working with ALDE party since last year in helping them reach out to their followers and their community on social media especially. And through this we have done a campaign this year about how to solve youth entrepreneurship or challenges with youth entrepreneurship in Europe. The campaign has produced throughout 2 months about 40 ideas, and through these ideas we have selected the top 5 ideas which have fulfilled the criteria. As you will see here on the campaign page, we have posted a short presentation about the challenge, providing some statistics about the dimensions of the challenge, and provided participants with different ideas where they could join the ideas and they could develop these ideas. The top participants, as we see, start with Andre, and who's with us at the moment, who will start with his idea, which is European strategy for the entrepreneurship. And it will be followed by Nelly and hopefully Karen, who is trying to join our video conference. Daniel, before we start with Andre, will you introduce Nelly Kroos? And
I will do so. Mrs. Cruz, it's once again a pleasure for us to have you here with let's say the winning or the leading participants in our online ID challenge. As you are the European Commissioner for the digital agenda in Europe, you've been, let's say, promoting quite vigorously and energetically digital entrepreneurship. I would like to ask you, before we go to the participants, if you could tell us a bit more about your recent initiatives, and also like how your ideas, how this will benefit young people in Europe. Mrs. Cruz.
What a great initiative. Let me start with that line. And out of the bottom of my heart, I think this type of initiatives really make sense. And we should communicate and we should cooperate, for indeed the issue is worrying. And you were mentioning figures, and I do have a couple of figures about some of the member states that are even more worrying than you were mentioning. So anyhow, when we are talking about a generation that has no perspective for a job, so can't plan for a family or looking around for an apartment or whatever, that is making a real bad point for Europe. And I'm always saying, if we are not dealing with this issue and if we can't tackle it, we are talking and facing a lost generation. Now coming to what is at stake, and that is even more important, to unite our efforts. I think that the younger generation, and that's you and all those who are attending this online meeting, that you seems to have a different approach of the economy. It is talking about a different mindset, so to say. My generation was planning a career that you were picking out a company or an organization, and you were planning to make your career within that organization or with that company. And that is the challenging part. And I'm anyhow highly challenged by that you and those of your generation are taking a different approach. It is not anymore just starting, and if not, then you are waiting. Or it is taking your own initiative. And then with the new technology and with the digitization, there are great opportunities. So startup, so to say, is a way to create jobs, and all over the place in Europe. I'm fascinated by those creativeness of those youngsters. What is at stake? And that I sincerely hope that we can just communicate and connect with each other. We are doing our utmost. One of my priorities is, of course, together with my colleagues, to tackle that type of youth employment that is connected with digitization. And by the way, nearby every economic activity and also other activities are connected with this digitization. So what is at stake? What do you need? And what type of thoughts do you have? When you are a startup and when you are in this field, what do you want us to deliver? We are trying to activate, and we are trying to get, by the way, entrepreneurial spirits also in education, but also taking into account that, so that is the entrepreneurship education at school. But it is also giving a climate in which it is worthwhile. And if you are smelling a success, then you want to innovate and implement, and are you stick to lines and to rules that are not giving you the comfort. So please give me as much concrete thoughts from your side that we can just deal. We are doing quite a bit, and also when you are not aware, mention it that we are not good in communication.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Cruz. I think now Adam will introduce the best ideas and the participants, Andre and Nelly Guet. So Adam, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Andre. Thank you, Daniel. Andre, we will start with your idea here. And you have mentioned Europeans, or you have started this idea, European strategy for the youth entrepreneurship. And actually, this idea combines a few different initiatives. Will you give us a brief about this idea?
Okay, thank you. It's a big pleasure to be here with you. Wait, just.
Andre, maybe perhaps introduce yourself first, and thank you.
Okay, thank you. I would like to present this idea, and first I strongly believe that the fight of youth unemployment should be through the development and implementation of a European strategy for youth entrepreneurship. So this strategy would be the basis for the national strategies of the member states. I believe that Europeans are as creative and innovative as Americans. However, there is in Europe a lack of knowledge, skills, and abilities related with entrepreneurship. I think the first cause of this is the education system. Here in Europe, the education system is too closed. So we have at schools some subjects, but the subjects are closed. If we are in a class of biology, for example, we are talking only about biology and not how to create new opportunities, new business with biology, for example. On the other hand, it is important that the European entrepreneurs, that it is important to connect the entrepreneurs from all Europe. So I think another thing that we could work in was to create a network. So with the education and the creation of this network, I think we should change the culture. We should change the climate. So we must foster the entrepreneur's spirit in Europe. So we must have the entrepreneur spirit in our DNA, you know. So I think this could the European strategy should have these ideas that I presented, but this is only a very, very, very small draft. We should work on this, and we should integrate other activities, such other ones that were presented in the challenge. For example, let me just see here. The minimum how do you say? Sorry, the minimum start money that you have to create a company. For example, here in Portugal, with €1 you may create a company. So I think that's a big step for foster the entrepreneurship. So I think that the main idea that we have here in this challenge is a lot of different ideas that can be joined in a European strategy. You know, I don't think this idea is really my idea. This is an idea of all the participants. So I think the next steps are join all these ideas and create a real common policy in youth entrepreneurship.
Thank you, Andre. Ms. Kroos, there's a lot of ideas there. Andre mentioned training and network being some of the focal points. Do you have any response to this one?
I completely agree that it is of great importance to just push even more in our educational system the attention for entrepreneurship. It is underestimated at the moment, and it is of great importance, so to say. I just was thinking for preparing this week, yesterday, with the meetings that are planned. One of the conferences that I will address is a meeting of CIOs, and CIOs of companies in Europe that are quite interested in getting more attention for digitization and technology and what the opportunities are. They are aware that there is a lack of people that are ICT skill related, and they are just organizing a big going to schools. So the CIOs are visiting schools all over Europe to get more attention and give more information how important it is to just inform kids and already from a young age on, that this is a great opportunity for them to get those skills and to get that bedded in plans for a career. And what I was thinking, listening to you, that perhaps we could inform those CIOs too that they should just touch upon the entrepreneurship. And of course, it is separate from what they are doing in their business, but they are more than aware how important it is. I can absolutely assure you that we take this point with us. By the way, education is not a competence of the European Commission. It is still a national competence, but we do have a couple of opportunities to get a bit more attention and to push it a bit more in the curricula.
Thank you, Ms. Kroes. Our next idea and the idea leader is Nelly Kuwait. Nelly, thanks for joining us. You also, actually, you focused on education at school from the beginning. Will you tell us your idea and maybe perhaps points where you have a special focus?
Yes, good morning. It's a great pleasure and a great honor for me to be able to share with Vice President Kroes those ideas. I can connect immediately to what you have been speaking about, Andre and Mrs. Kroes, because I have been working as a school leader, headmaster, for 22 years with European school heads around Europe in 32 countries. So it's clear that there are huge differences between our countries, and it is, in my opinion, the explanation for a bad economic situation for some countries. So what I mean with very beginning, it's primary schools. In France, for example, of course, officially we take into account the recommendations of the European Commission. But it's just in theory, because in practice we have no entrepreneurship education at school. The Conservative Party, 2005 until 2007, introduced a European law, but entrepreneurship was translated by autonomy. So the word entrepreneurship had to disappear. And this time, with the socialists, it's a big problem, because the left wing of the socialists declares that secularization of schools means no religion and no business. It's a new time for us. I am very afraid of what is coming on us, because this left wing is very important in the trade unions and in the schools in France. But back to the proposals, I think we would need a dedicated website from the Commission, and I am thinking of the German model, the German Lehrer Online. I have been leading school in Berlin, and I have been studying Germany. I have been visiting the people in Wiesbaden who created this Universum Verlag, and this website is in German, but it's what, in my opinion, perfect. It's exactly what we need for the other countries in Europe. Of course, in the most foreign languages which are possible. It's a problem of budget, but I think teachers are not all in unions. In my country, for example, we just have 13%, but they all think it's not possible to introduce in our curricula economics, business. We have in France a situation where no financial education, no economic education takes place until the 10th grade, and work experiences are also not everywhere approved. So I think a website, then networks and conferences. I am personally in 3 networks of school heads in Europe and around the world. Tomorrow morning we will meet the cabinet of the new ministry, and we will suggest an international conference on school leadership. It's also very important to train school leaders in entrepreneurship education. And tomorrow we will hear just that point. We will have an answer. If France is not willing to organize it, we will do it in the Netherlands, because it hasn't been done since 10 years and it has to be in Europe. So I will come back to you about this point. I just realized during your intervention and André's speech that it's perhaps an opportunity, but I know others from the Teachers Association who would be able to disseminate what you are doing on the website, on this future dedicated website.
Thank you so much, Nelly. What you said about the attitudes towards entrepreneurs also actually falls well with in Europe. Falls well with the statistics showing that 50% of Europeans feel entrepreneurs exploit other people's efforts, whereas this is only 25% in the United States.
It's a big problem.
So it's a big problem according to you, and you have first-hand experience with this. Neely Kroes, your comment again, please.
Yeah, I'm teased by your thoughts. I'm absolutely surprised, to put it in a diplomatic way, that the new line is no religion in education and no business involvement in education. The first one I completely agree upon, but the second one, no business, we are not talking about the business world who on their issues is involved in business. We are talking about how can you start your own business, how can you find your job. And if you are blocking to find your job because you don't get the instruments in your backpack for your trip to create your own job, then that is really sincere. My second question is, if you are facing problems in France and thinking of going to the Netherlands, why not doing both? Don't give up in France and start in the Netherlands. I'm certain, and if you need help, I will be delighted to give you a hand to try to open doors and so on. For this is mainly what we are discussing now. It is the new mindset that we need for the future economy of Europe. Startups, young generation that is filling in. Having said that, and talking about your thought of the web, we do have a discussion, and more than a discussion we are working out, and that is the web talent, an open call for support action, and it is focusing on massive open online calls. And it will be launched within a couple of weeks. So anyhow, in this month. And it means that collaboration with my colleague is at stake. They will certainly inform the constituency when the call is published, but please give an eye, and if it's not clear enough, let me know.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kroes. We'll now call
there he's back again. Adam, there you're back again.
Technology has its hiccups, and
Yes.
I think we will have to get used to it and tolerate it to move forward. Karen, you have been joining from Denmark, and the idea that you will be presenting is one-stop entrepreneurships around Europe. Will you tell us about yourself and the idea?
I am working as a civil servant in Denmark in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, but I'm also standing as candidate for the European elections next year. and I'm interested in seeing how we can make Europe more relevant for people. And I think that having one-stop entrepreneur shops will help not only the young entrepreneurs, but also all of the entrepreneurs, to make it easier to find information and the support that they need to develop their ideas into action. This is especially important for the young entrepreneurs because we need to get young entrepreneurs to become entrepreneurs and not to get discouraged by red tape before they even get started. It is important to take the best practice from all of the member states. In the proposal, there is an example from France of Cités des Métiers, and there is also an example from Estonia, and I think it would be useful if the European Commission and the European Parliament could create attention to these good examples and try and encourage other member states to use these. I think the use of the European Social Fund could be important in making sure that our social programs are not only targeted to getting people to find a paid job, but also help people set up their own business. We need to make sure that when people are looking for jobs, they're also looking for developing their ideas for businesses. And we need to make sure that all of our rules come together to help foster these ideas.
Thank you, Karen. Ms. Kroes?
Very interested, and I was thinking, we have an initiative, Startup Europe, but I imagine that it is not well known, and if that is the case, we should get in touch how we can just get our communication far more clear and more to the right spot, so to say. And with the Startup Europe, it is a bit what you were mentioning, a one-stop entrepreneur shop, where that makes life a lot easier and we can learn from each other. Did you ever hear from the Startup Europe, Karen?
Yes, I have. I saw part of the communication with you. There was a cartoon, I imagine, with a young girl who had started her own company that you went to visit in the cartoon.
Okay, I recognize it. Great. So the world is smaller than we sometimes think. But do you have advices, being aware that we have such an initiative? How can we do our communication better and more efficient?
By perhaps trying to get the national initiatives more integrated with the European initiatives. If we can get because I believe all the member states are trying to get more entrepreneurship and more innovation nationally, and we need them to use the opportunities that Europe actually provides.
Ms. Kroes, I'd like to also add an idea here. I've been working as an entrepreneur in Denmark for the past 5 years. I better shut down the screen share. I think when people see famous figures that they admire, entrepreneurs, and I saw that the founders of Spotify, you had endorsed them also. And yes, those kind of figures, they are very public or very visible for those who want to become entrepreneurs. If you would have them campaign, if you would have them participate in your campaign, which I believe they would do because they want to have others come on board, you can make your communication much more targeted and heard by, to be entrepreneurs.
An idea to add on to that would be also to try and reach out to the European entrepreneurs that are out there, perhaps even if they're not within Europe, but try and visit them where they are in perhaps Silicon Valley and these things, so that it's not just the member states that have outposts there.
May I add something?
Yeah, please, everyone, please briefly, because I think we're almost running out of time now.
I had the opportunity to translate a study from the Friedrich Naumann Stiftung about school books on entrepreneurship. And I think it's very important to give another image of entrepreneurs. It was the first point. The second is globalization. We have in our books very false comprehension of the situation north-south, and of course also the biggest problem is about social justice, because our books are full of examples where the entrepreneurs are not doing social justice. And on these 4 points, the fourth one is how to accept that a company has to close because another one has to open, a very actual situation. We have every day in the news in the evening a new situation, and I think those 4 points are the ones we should develop on this website, with contents coming not only from the ministry and not from the Ministry of Education, but from the Ministry of Economy and Finance. The OECD invited me 2 weeks ago in Prague with a lot of people, 62 countries, to work on financial education, economic. And Europe is not as much represented. We have to work more with banks and other companies, of course, to develop contents that are actual and not the ones teachers have in their books. And just think about no religion, no business at school. It was not the new government, the socialists. It is the opposition from the left wing. But they are in the education ministry with 1.5 million people, very powerful. And officially, it's not the mainstream, but in the schools, they have the power, mostly.
Thanks for rich insights, Nelly.
Would you mind giving me just the floor for a moment to give you a bit of inspiration, for you are such great people. What I did was inviting a couple of founders of tech startups in Europe, 8 of them. So the Spotify guy, the Rovio guy, the Skype guy, and a couple of others, also girls, by the way. And I asked them to be my Leaders Club, the Europe Leaders Club, the Startup Europe's Leaders Club. They promised me that they would not only join the club, but also prepare a manifesto in which it is far more visible that we can be proud of our European startups and that we do have great ones. We always think that it is only Silicon Valley. On the contrary, those people, those girls and guys are impressive and making absolutely a great step forward. So there is also the startup, sorry, the Startup Europe Accelerator, and we also have a Startup Europe Venture Capital group. So all in all, with all those pieces of the jigsaw, we are trying to give a better climate for the startups in this field. I badly need your reaction. What could do better in our communication? What we could do better in our thoughts of getting people together. On the 19th of June, we do have a big gathering in Dublin, the 19th of June, where also entrepreneurship, what we are discussing now, is at stake. So if you are interested, please join us. And all in all, I think that with as well the part of the crowdfunding, the venture capital, the accelerators, the leaders, that it is like a chain. Every part makes sense, but we need to be involved and we need to be aware that you are aware.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Thank you. Very.
I think you're absolutely right. We need to make people more aware of the leading figures in startups in Europe, so that people have something to aspire to. And I'm looking forward to see the manifesto.
Sounds like a great initiative, Ms. Gross. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you, and go on with your great activity.
Thank
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Daniel?
Yeah.
If you
Can you
are
make some?
pass by.
I will make up some rounding up comments
Definitely
now.
will.
Mrs. Cruz and all the participants, I would like to thank you very much for let's say, rounding up our idea challenge on promoting youth entrepreneurship and how the EU can help. I think also for the ALDE party it's been a very interesting experience. We received many ideas that we also can use in our upcoming manifesto for the 2014 European Parliament elections. Mrs. Cruz, thank you very much once again. And before we close the broadcast, I would also like to announce the winner of the idea challenge, because one of the possibilities was to win let's say an exchange of views with you, Mrs. Cruz, but the top participant to the idea challenge would win a free trip to London at the end of November of this year, where the ALDE party will hold its annual party congress, where we will adopt our election manifesto for the European Parliament elections. And I would like to announce that Andre is the winner of the competition. He not only got the let's say most points, but also engaged most people in his idea challenge in developing it. So congratulations, Andre, for winning this competition. We'll get back to you with all the details soon. But of course, I would also like to thank Nelly Guet and Karen for their participation and contribution to the idea challenge. And Mrs. Cruz, with your services, we will let's say put everything on an email so that we can come up with, let's say, some of the concrete follow-up after this webinar, and we can help you also disseminate some of your initiatives.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Andre.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gross. Thank you,
Thank you
Daniel.
very much, and have a good day. Thank you.
And congratulations, Andrew.
Thank you.
Look forward to meet you in November.
I see you.
Bye.
This has been broadcasted and will be shared on YouTube for all participants. We'll share the link. Thank you.
Thank you.